As you begin reading Marlowe's Tragedy of Dr. Faustus, I wanted to set you up to pay attention to a few themes and focus here on this is the end of the chorus, the opening, where you're or prologue, where the play is set in motion, you're given background on who Faustus is, and then you'll shortly enter into action. And at the end of it here is an important set of allusions that cause are meant to cause us as an audience to look for certain themes. And here we go. It tells you that where he came from, where he's in school, and he's trained in Württemberg. In some of the texts, it's the one in our book, I believe, is in Wittenberg, where the Reformation begins. And here tells us about his training. So he soon profits in divinity. That means he has passed through all the courses of study. He's been had a BA in philosophy. He's been trained in logic, and now he's moved through the master's degree. Divinity was the highest level. You couldn't even study the Bible until you had learned the others, gone through a liberal arts training like ours. The fruitful plot of scholarism graced. They talk about gracing people with degrees. They were given them, and then he was graced with doctor's name. So he'd been in the university after his undergraduate at least 10 more years, but he's excelling. He's passing beyond the disputations into theology. And here's the key set of lines. Till swollen with cunning of a self-conceit, his waxen wings did mount above his reach. And this is an allusion, his waxen wings did mount above his reach, to the Icarus myth, or sometimes it's called the Daedalus myth. And that myth you see illustrated here. This is Daedalus. Daedalus was the designer of the labyrinth in which the Minotaur was kept, and the hero Theseus was trapped inside the labyrinth, and the secret of the labyrinth was revealed, so he was able to find the Minotaur and kill him. And Daedalus, as punishment, was banished to an island with his son Icarus. Well, Daedalus, being brilliant, designed a way to get off. He constructed wings made of wax, and as he placed them on his son, he cautioned Icarus, don't fly too near the sun, don't fly too high, because these waxen wings will melt. But Icarus takes off, and he's elated, he delights in the flight, and he soars higher and higher, and Daedalus is calling to him, come down, come down. And Icarus is heedless of his father, youthful, rash, and flies too near the sun, and his wings are melted or clipped. And that's Helios riding the chariot. And down Icarus falls to his death. And that's this allusion here from Marlowe, that Faustus he's grown in knowledge, he has excelled his peers, he's reached the highest level that he can reach, and he's engaged in the highest forms of disputation. Swollen with cunning, great description there, of a self-conceit. So he's mounting above his reach. His character isn't able to keep pace with what he is researching and his aims. And the result then here, and melting heavens conspired his overthrow, for falling to a devilish exercise, and glutted now with learning's golden gifts, he surfeits upon cursed necromancy. Here is where a crucial theme gets set in play, and melting heavens conspired his overthrow. In most of the original manuscripts, these commas that you see right here, they're not present. So the line just reads, and melting heavens conspired his overthrow. And that has some ambiguity. The editors in this text place the commas here, and melting heavens conspired his overthrow. Well, that's an interpretation, because who's doing the action here? Heavens. So Faustus goes where he shouldn't go. He researches things he shouldn't research, and so the heavens conspire his overthrow. But if you take, there's a different read on that. If you take the comma out, it can be read another way. Melting heavens. See if I can get rid of that. And if this together, if melting is describing the heavens, so melting is an adjective for heavens, then this idea, who would the melting heavens be? It's the fallen angels. The melting heavens, and that this image will come back to us later in our course. The falling angels, those who have melted from heaven, conspire his overthrow. Now, there's an ambiguity here. Is it God? Is this heavens here? Is this metonymy for God? Is this the sovereignty of God, his foreknowledge in action, conspiring Faustus's overthrow? Or is this an insidious plot of Satan and his demons to overthrow Faustus? Who's responsible? There's another we have to bear in mind, that it's Faustus himself who is soaring beyond where he should soar. It's Faustus who's pursuing knowledge he shouldn't. So there's a threefold quandary. Who is responsible for Faustus' overthrow? Is it him? Is it God? Is it the enemy? Marlowe wants to deal with that throughout the play, and again and again he brings up different angles to it. We wonder, you'll come to moments where you'll think, it seems like Faustus here is able to repent. He makes a deal with the devil, and then it seems like he could repent here. Why doesn't he? Well, Faustus thinks he has come to believe that he can't repent, and certainly Satan and the demon Mephistopheles they're not going to disabuse him of that. He's convinced he can't repent. They affirm that, no, you can't repent, and yet he keeps receiving these offers to repent. So Marlowe, through this play, he's wanting his audience to work through that, to think through, is there a point at which someone can't repent? And in the end, what determines an overthrow? What determines salvation? Is it God's election? Is it a person's free will? Or is it some kind of puzzle that could possibly resolve where all of those are affirmed in some way? So I don't know if you probably already have some kind of preliminary thoughts about that. You might even have a conviction about it, but I encourage you to let the play push you on that, and let the ideas have their what do I want to say? Let Marlowe's own wrestling with it encourage you to return to the issue. I expect you'll end up back where you were, but he brings up some interesting angles on the whole problem, and what maybe is the most fascinating about the play is that he comes at it not head on, where usually we're talking about if someone, we're talking about the elect, and whether someone is predestined to salvation. But here, he turns it upside down and is asking, is Faustus predestined to damnation?